Yay.
Good morning, haters. It's time for another episode of I Hate Real Estate with my good friend Kendall and my good friend Ross Owyoung. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on the show. And Kendall is our attorney, as we know, who's coming back from Hamilton, which is showing in Little Rock. And Ross has multiple different roles here in our fantastic city. So let's dive right in and talk about my two favorites, which is your position in real estate. What two jobs do you do in real estate?
So I'm a real estate agent for EXP, so I work with Jamie. But I also am the adjunct professor in the College of Business at the University of Arkansas Little Rock real estate program. And so I teach real estate principles this semester and maybe some couple more in the upcoming semester.
I hope so, because I know they're learning from the best. So good deal. And
That's cool, because we had Elizabeth Small on the show earlier, and we were just talking before we started recording, and he actually took over the classes when Elizabeth got a promotion, so he's doing those same classes that she was
I actually just took her whole curriculum.
Yeah.
And so
It's
she
your
just
predecessor.
"All right, I can teach this."
literally they copied it and pasted it onto Blackboard. And so basically they just had to change the professor name.
Yeah.
It was great. And then I just had to learn everything all over.
And Blackboard, that's something I hadn't thought about in a long time.
So
I don't even know what Blackboard is.
my college degree came from life. So, anyways, when you sit down to talk about real estate, there are a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. And when I met you, you weren't a real estate agent yet, and I thought it'd be so fun to have him on the show because I've called you multiple times since Ross has been working with me. We've had lots of fun experiences in the industry so far dealing with clients, but the reflection of a new agent I feel like is really important because it's when we get on the show, we're talking about all the experience we've had, and we've never really taken it back to what was it like to become a new agent and start working in a market in an industry, and that experience, sort of that reflection. Now, obviously, you're a little advanced because you are very well versed in real estate in your regular job, so you have a little bit more insight above that. But talk to us real quickly about what the decision is like. Okay, I think I'm going to get my real estate license, and then sort of that experience from making that decision, walking up to okay, now I've got to fill all these legal boxes before I can have the license.
So if Jamie knows me very well, and I'm the type of person who thinks that I can just do it all.
He can do it all.
And so I decided that I wanted to buy a house, or that I was time for me to buy a house, and I was looking around, and I was like, okay, I can do this myself. I can be a real estate agent and just execute. Not even knowing that there was like contracts in place.
But not even just like I could be a real estate agent. Homeboy goes after a FSBO. First shot out the gate. So here we go. Continue.
So, yeah, I was like up and down, and I was like, Jamie was showing me some houses, and we would go under contract, and we'd go inspection, and we'd terminate, and then finally there was a FSBO that popped up, and I don't have my license at all, and I just straight up send him a text message, because there was no houses on the market that the pictures emulated the type of house that I was looking. It was completely gutted, completely updated, and I was like, I thought the pictures were fake. Yeah. And so I texted him, and I was like, from the Zillow number, I was like, if these pictures are real and not altered, and you can prove it, I'll submit a full price offer tonight.
First text he sent. Then he texts me.
Jamie is so mad.
Way to negotiate. But he was excited, and in this market, to be fair, I'm just cracking up thinking about that text message. But
So,
anyway.
yeah, she was upset that that was the first interaction that I had with a potential seller to a home, and I was going to be the buyer, and she was supposed to be representing me. And I just completely did not.
You didn't give legal advice or financial advice.
Literally just
Shining
went,
power.
swerve.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm gonna go to the direct source. Yeah. And so I guess that's kind of how it happened.
This
and
is how I
Jamie
knew he was
like,
going to be a good agent.
Jamie was like, you can be a real estate agent.
I said, listen, if you can negotiate on your behalf, imagine what you could do for a client. But the story unfolds where, I mean, some really funny things happen too. But on the way, I start talking to the seller. We start figuring out that this deal might actually work. And so he walks from contract to closing and is getting his real estate license sort of simultaneously.
I closed on my house on the 28th and 22nd, and I got my license on October 28th. And so it was all within the same week.
Yeah. And it was like, for me, I was like, okay, well, just, you can represent yourself now. I'm just kidding. I walked him through the transaction and closed it. But
I take it the pictures were real.
They were real.
Oh, and he got a great deal, and he's in a great location. I'm not disclosing, but I'm just saying he's got an amazing deal. And I think there's reflection there, too, about the opportunity that's there when you become an agent, because all of a sudden you get paid to buy a house. I mean, if you represent yourself properly and you do all the disclosure, sitting right there, and you do it right, you can buy your house and get paid to do it. But then also you can build equity, and you're young. I mean, you have a future and you have a life, and you've already built one big piece of it is you've created wealth for yourself, an opportunity to grow equity at a young age. So
we're doing that right now on a deal I'm closing next week in Lone Oak, where a guy who has a license has a company that holds land, and he's going to be his own buyer. He's going to be his own buyer's agent whenever they sell the property, and he's already got it set up, and so he's getting a fee for selling his own property.
Yeah. And I love that because it's just a great opportunity, but it's also, you talked about in the beginning, I could do it all. And that's sort of when I was picking up my real estate license, I picked it up in 13. I didn't touch it till 17. So in that time that I was holding it, I was thinking like, what could I do with this? And then I sold the first house and saw the commission. I was like, why haven't I been doing this? And what else could I do with it? So talk to me a little bit about the feeling you have as a young person who's employed in a city that you love, who has a great job and takes on the educational and then the experience related to being a real estate agent. Like, how has that been balance-wise, and has it been difficult for you? But
no, it is. It definitely takes a balance, and it's one of those things where you have to have a very set schedule and a set routine. I'm kind of getting lost in that question because that was like 3 questions right there.
That was like an 8-part question.
Yeah, that
like
was.
Everybody, why don't you
I would
you're the
have
attorney.
objected to
Yeah,
that
can we go
question.
back to
He
step one?
just objected. Where's the gavel? Yeah.
I don't know.
What was the question 1?
Oh, the gavel's over here. It's behind me.
Yeah, I'm going to let him start asking the questions. But seriously, what I was talking about is the balance of deciding to get your real estate license when you're in another industry or have another job. Because a lot of people do the whole part-time agent, but it's like, part-time agent is how you sometimes break into the industry, and you can be extremely professional and successful in that arena. But it does take some sacrifice and some balance. So I was going to see what that experience has been for you.
Yeah. So first I got into real estate because obviously real estate is very lucrative. Just like you were saying, you sold your first home and you saw the commission that you could make. And so I saw that on top of my day job, that this is what I do from 9 to 5. Then I have time after that. And so there's times that you can show houses in the morning, and times that you can show houses on the weekends and the evenings. And so it's like, if you can balance both of those things, and then you can kind of pick and choose your clients as a part-time real estate agent, to be honest, because you don't have to rely on that income 24/7. And so it's one of those things that it's very exciting and fun for me because it's a lot of me working with close friends or family. And other than that, I don't have to do advertisements or get random buyers through Zillow ads or anything like that because I do have a full-time job, which I'm very fortunate for.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I was saying earlier, real estate is very lucrative. So why would you not tap into that as a part-time gig? And so especially if you can balance the two. And so I think balance is a very important part of life, and having that work-life balance is important. And so that there's some months that I don't have any contracts and I don't work on real estate. And so that's me taking a step back and working on myself and my own mental health and my own body and everything. Yeah. But then there's some months where I'm 80 hours a week. Yeah. And
I'd be like, come on.
Let's do it all.
Yeah.
And so, it's definitely just, it's a balance, it's a flow. But it's one that I currently enjoy, and I like to do it.
Yeah, you're crushing it. And I'm totally one of the first agents that came out when I was a new agent and overwhelmed myself. So I've really admired that because your journey has included, okay, wait, I don't want to do that. And his clients, like you said, ideally, they have been pretty ideal. There hasn't been any clients that have been difficult except for that one. But everything has been really fun and enjoyable and balanced. So I actually just got a question popped in my mind because you're an attorney, so you kind of don't get to pick your clients at all. And I've just realized I've never even asked you on this show, how do you pick your clients real quickly?
I definitely pick my clients.
You do?
You don't pick from a standpoint of I can go out and get whoever I want as a client, but as far as who contacts us or who is referred to us and those kinds of things, we pick and choose.
Are you pretty picky?
I'm picky when I'm really busy. Yeah. Like we are right now. It's overwhelming right now.
Right.
And I've got a new client I'm probably going to take on after the show today, and I've got a new client that I'm going to take on probably tomorrow morning, neither of which I have time to do, but we're going to do it.
Oh, gosh, I love it.
Because we pass it around. Parker will help me.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act. It's exactly what you just described. I don't want to tell you to go that it's just like being a lawyer because you'll go to law school and graduate in 6 months or something.
I know. And
I've already done that route.
Here we go. Yeah. Don't hire him. I'm busy.
Yeah. But he'll be out competing with us, and obviously he works harder than I do, apparently.
Yeah.
But I mean, we pick and choose. We don't pick and choose who contacts us, but we pick and choose which contacts that we actually retain as clients.
I think that's really good for you to know that so easily up front, because that's something that takes a lot of agents some time to learn. And real estate can be really enjoyable, or you can feel like you hate it some days, depending on how you're dealing with your clients and how your clients are treating you and what kind of business you've built. So as far as the new agent experience, getting licensed, taking the test, paying the fees, all this stuff, I'm going to be totally honest with you. When someone asked me to be a real estate agent, I have this infamous bad habit of being like, it's a breeze. But it's because I went into it from the appraisal side, so then it looked really easy in comparison. It would, you know what I mean? So how
don't undermine what we've already said, because we've had a lot of conversations on this show about
I'm not
the
undermining
bars
it.
to entry or the level of entry
It's low.
The bar is low compared to some other things involved in real estate that are just as important.
Yes, and that's kind of what I'm bringing up is like how in reality, when you're on the outside and you're young, you're an entrepreneur, you're hardworking, you have a great job, and you're like, maybe I want to get into real estate, and then someone says, okay, this is how you do it. How different in reality was your experience actually executing on all of that versus the advertised price of $9.99, become a real estate agent in 30 days or less? Like,
Okay, so I'll start.
I already know what he thinks.
I mean, it was one of those things that it was pretty easy for me to obtain the requirements to take the test to get the license. I could do the classes at my own pace. I could do it through the National School of Real Estate. I don't even really have to pay attention to those classes. You can literally just have the video playing in the background, and when it gets to the next button, you can hit next, and when it gets to the questions, you can answer the questions.
But that's not what you did, right?
No, not at all. You know, who does that?
No.
I'm a professor. Never. Never.
But it was easy, is what he's.
Yeah.
What I was getting to is it's easy, and so
basically you can get the requirements without even trying, and then as
how he disclosed.
As far as the test goes, I mean, you have to prepare for the test to the extent you have zero knowledge because you didn't listen to any videos, or you listen to all of them. There's still some level of preparation for the test.
Right.
Exactly. And so I think that's when you can talk about the barrier to entry to being low and it doing like that. But I took it through, I'm not going to disclose, but I took it not in person due to COVID, but I took it on Zoom. And so you had to have your camera and be very interactive. So basically I was in person because no one could be. That was easy to obtain the requirements. And then like I even paid attention, and I consider myself pretty smart. I mean,
Sure.
You are smart.
I went to a lot of years of schooling, and so I was like, oh, this test will be a breeze. I paid attention in class. I went in to take the test. I passed the real estate portion and did not pass the Arkansas law portion, which was supposed to be the easiest.
He can tell you right now, he's argued a lot of cases in Arkansas, and it's not always easy.
It's not always straightforward.
I hated the Arkansas law portion, and here's the real truth, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. But they pretty much give you all correct answers, and they try to figure out the most correct answer, which is what kind of really decides if you're analytical enough to be able to be an ethical real estate agent according to the Arkansas law statutes. But
that sounds like the bar exam.
Yeah.
Kind of. The bar exam is 400 multiple choice questions on two parts of it, and every single answer is right for the most part.
Yeah, and it's trying to find the most, and that's what it felt like for me too when I took it. So it was like, but you go in and you're like, I got this, and you're like, dang it, I got to go back. But that happens to a lot of agents. And
I failed the ethics exam the first time I took it. For a lot, you have to pass the MPRE exam for ethics. I didn't pass it.
That is hilarious to me because you're like the most ethical person I know. And what's funny is that
I did the same thing. I was like, I don't have to study for the law portion. I've been at this ethical board. We've been in ethics class for a semester, and it's 2 semesters. But we've been in ethics class for a semester. This is not going to be a problem. I'm not even going to look at it. And it was way different from formatting standpoint than anything that they teach you in the actual class. So
well, and from a format perspective, this is actually really similar because they sort of teach to the test when you take your real estate classes. They're like, this is the terminology. These are the questions that are going to come up. You need to make sure you pay attention to the number of square feet in an acre. All that kind of stuff pops up. But then you get through it, and I can't wait to hear this part because it's like, I feel like you differentiated on purpose when you said it was easy to get the regulations met, but then you actually start practicing real estate. And that's when you realize it's like Pandora's box, right?
Yeah, it's like one thing after another, and I don't know what all was out there. I was like, this did not help me at all.
Yeah, it was like,
I was like, how do I do anything now?
yeah.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, law school is the same way. I've said it for years, ever since I graduated, that they teach you the law, but they don't teach you how to be a lawyer. They
How
don't
to
tell you
apply
how
it.
to do it. They don't teach. There's not a how to start a law firm class that you can take in law school.
Well, and
there's
this-
not a what do you need your monthly expenses to be. I mean, there's none of that.
I didn't even think
out there.
about that, but that's another point to bring up. But like, that's the thing. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to interview you on this show particularly, because you're a very good new agent. A lot of new agents are not good. I was not a good new agent. I took on too much business, the wrong clients. I underpriced myself. I did lots of things wrong. And in hindsight, I look at someone like you and I'm like, yes, that's how you start. That's how you go. But one of the other reasons I want to talk about this is practical application of real estate. What you're teaching in those college courses and what we learn as agents is what is shaping our community, okay? We're the people who handle who's spending their money in our city, where they're spending it on what. And when you start thinking about that, there is a lot of responsibility associated with that. And so I wanted to get the take of, now that you're a couple years in, you've executed plenty of transactions, you should be getting ready to take your broker's license exam here pretty soon. If you could go back and start over and see what you actually were going to be trying to practically apply, knowing what classes you were going to take versus your experience, right? If you could go back, what would you recommend a new agent actually understand as opposed to the terms and definitions of what you learn? Like, I guess your biggest thing, you came out, started doing a transaction, was like, why the hell didn't anyone teach me this?
I think I need to go through my entire syllabus for real estate principles and my assignments then.
Yeah.
And so honestly, yeah, zoning laws. And you need to know about like zoning laws and like Little Rock zoning laws and then where you're going to practice at. Not only that, real estate agents not necessarily realize this, but you also work with a lot of renters and like people who are thinking that they're first-time home buyers at this age, but then something comes up to where they have to rent for another year and they ask you if you can find them a rent home. And so you have that aspect of a real estate agent. I don't know where I was going with that.
Probably just all the surprises because you talked about zoning laws.
And so then you need to know about landlord-tenant laws. That's where I was going, is you need to know about landlord-tenant laws as a real estate agent too, because you might be in an interaction to where you've put a client in a real renter home for a year.
Or you have clients that buy rentals left and right.
Yeah, I have clients that buy rentals left and right. And so like being educated on like Arkansas landlord-tenant laws, thank goodness they changed last November. But yeah, and so it's just like a lot of different things of knowing the in-depthness of all of those, maybe even interviewing a current real estate agent and knowing what's out there and how to do it. And then, depends on where you're working, how to work Carmels and MLS, how to
search the MLS is a big one.
search
Like
the
they don't go over
MLS.
how to search the MLS like one time.
Like-
And you do go to like the Carmels thing. But the point is there's not like a one-stop inclusive experience of practical application in real estate.
No, there's not a very good onboarding process, if that makes sense. There's not like, I feel like if you went to the Little Rock, I feel like if you went to the commission or the association, there needs to be like a packet. Here's step 1. Here's step 2. Here's step 3, and all the things that you need to do are maybe like some onboarding videos. And that might exist, and maybe I just didn't tap into that. And those resources may be out there, so
No, it all exists. It's just, it's
apologize.
a little disconnected. I mean, at least I feel like that just because I feel like we have this culture of co-opetition, but we're missing a little bit more of the cooperation, I feel like, because when you go in as a new agent, it does feel a bit like a disconnected scenario. And I think it is because the lack of practical application in the schooling, because it looks, especially right now, the numbers of real estate agents on the increase. I don't know if you've seen this, but a ton of new agents have come in our market the last 24 months because our market's appreciating. Property is getting more valuable. People are able to sell more of it for faster, for higher level of
People
money.
are hearing their real estate friends say, hey, I sold more property last year than I ever have before.
I sold $10 million my first year in real estate. And it makes it really attractive and easy to bust into. But then it comes down to what you just said, landlord-tenant laws. Here's a big point. People are coming from out of state to purchase property in our state, and then they're going to manage it. And these are properties in areas of town where we want everything to look beautiful and be well kept, and for them to follow all the regulations in the city, guidelines for how to maintain their property in Little Rock. Well, if the agent's not familiar with what's required of them and they're out-of-state investor and they're not familiar, is it going to be when we get the complaint from the tenant, or is it going to be when we get the complaint from the city, or is it going to be when Kindle serves somebody with a lawsuit that we find out this investor and or this agent isn't equipped to manage that kind of transaction in our city? And so I think I'm a little bit like pushing on the outside state money right now, but I guess bringing up that point too, understanding what you're doing is not selling houses to make money. You're impacting your community through the transaction of real estate by understanding what exactly you're doing when you transact between one party and another.
Well, we say it all the time, too, that in all honesty, a person buying a house is the biggest transaction that they'll ever complete in their entire life, period. That's the most money you'll spend on a single item. And if you're relying on someone that doesn't know what they're doing and they screw it up, I've seen it so many times, whether it be a builder, a contractor doing a remodel, a real estate agent that doesn't properly advise somebody, whatever it may, a home inspector that misses something. Every step of the transaction can have a major impact on somebody's life negatively. And so you want somebody that knows what they're doing.
Inspection, appraisal. And that's one thing I will say too, is like doing what you do, asking all the questions, calling and getting into it. That's how you've been successful too, is that along the way, the resources have existed because you've looked for them and been like, hey, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? Which I'll say as a broker, Ross is one of those agents, like, you better be on your toes, because he could call you at 7:30 and be like, what does regulation 8.2 say about 4.3? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll get really quick.
And he's like, squiggly line.
Squiggly line, 7.9. And honestly, what went through my mind was we talked about one of his clients on one of our episodes a couple weeks ago, and that was when I started kind of turning in my mind, like, this experience has been really cool to reflect on because you bought your first home, became a real estate agent, learned how to teach it to other people. So your experience has allowed you to start a career, to invest in real estate, and also to pass your experience and your education along to other people. So when they come out, they're not like, this will be a snap.
Yeah. I'm going to add to what you could add to, like, what real estate agents need to know going in as a new agent. I think it's especially important for real estate agents not to only network with other real estate agents, because as a real estate agent, you need to know electricians, you need to know plumbers, you need to know everyone who can be any type of contractor that can be there at your disposal. And so attorneys, yeah, all of it. And so you need to network in all of those different circles, because after the inspection, you have 5 days to have all these different people out there, and you have to be that person to rely on your clients to be able to give these names and these resources. And so as a new agent, I think it's especially important that they need a network in these different industries that are associated with real estate, and not just other agents at, like, real estate networking events, or like the LRR or LR. I don't even know the acronym.
All the parties and events
all
that
the
you
little
can go
parties
to.
that they go to. It's like, well, that's great and all, but you also need to
get out there and find people that can support your clients.
Yeah, it's true, because, you know, there's restrictions on you making a referral to a specific home inspector or something along those lines. But as far as a contractor goes, or someone to do or perform work, as long as it's not an inspection, I don't think that there's any restriction on you saying, hey, here's a plumber, as long as it's not a plumber you're in business with or getting a kickback from, or a family member that you're benefiting from, or something like that.
In my mind, all these deals come up when you're doing, because
I know.
Well, the thing is, like, I get through deals the night before a show, and I start thinking about, like, what do I want to talk about and who's coming on the show, because because that's what I do. But as I'm running through my mind, like, all these cases have popped up, and almost all the time that I'm looking at one of your cases, or it's something involving a real estate agent, it's usually either a lack of experience or they did something unethical. Like, it's one or the other. And so that's why it's so important for, like, practical application to continue to work and get a broker that will answer your questions and do those things. And so that brings me to the next question, which I'm terrified to ask him. What is the most valuable thing that your brokerage / broker / what is the most valuable thing a new agent needs from a broker?
access.
Okay. Please don't say something I don't provide.
I mean, yeah, I think they need access to their new broker and their brokerage
and
ask questions and have that hands-on experience, especially if you're inputting your first listing in MLS. Like, I want her to FaceTime me or be there with me to make sure that I've done it all correctly and I've checked all the right boxes, even though I think that I have and I think that I've done. It's like she's done it longer than I have, so I would much rather my broker be there to somewhat oversee it before I hit publish or submit for the first time, because there's a little bit of anxiety in that.
Well, what's upsetting about that is I know Jamie does a good job of this, but there are brokers out there that don't, and that's their job under the real estate regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I will be totally honest about this, and that's why I was a little nervous to do it, is, you know, Ross got into the business right around the time I was kind of getting out, and I took almost 2 years to have this baby and be at home and do those things. And in that time, he was a heavy piece of my real estate business. What volume I did produce was because of Ross helping me and supporting my business. So I did have a lot of access with him, but the other part is that, like, to his credit, he'll call me and he'll be like, listen, we're on the second day of inspection repair, and then this happened, and the seller's trying to say this. And I'll just be like, that's terrible. It's going to affect your property value. You're going to lose $10,000. It's incur, you know. And he listens, and he takes it in, goes and executes, and then calls me back. Okay, what'd you say? Like, and he'll really want to understand Why should my client not continue with this purchase based on this information? And he cares what the quality of the property is and stuff like that. And I think that's really important. So as a broker, it makes it exciting when agents come in and they want to work, but they also want to do a good job, because it's not about money. Like, it's about impact. And Ross, actually, you're a graduate, I believe, of the Clinton Public School of Service. Isn't that correct? He has a heart for people. He loves to serve people. So it makes it really easy for me to be accessible, because I'm like, yeah, I love you. You're fun to talk to, and you're good at your job. So if you're like Ross, come work with me.
You should.
Yeah.
She's good. She has access.
She has access. But what about the surprises? Let's say like there's surprises related to the inspection, repair, addendum, the forms, the attorney pieces of it, all the serious stuff. But what's the biggest surprise for you, like running your own business when you become a real estate agent and you realize, whoa, I've got to do all these different things. It's not just a job where I walk in and I execute a task and I leave. It has all these strings tied to it. What's the biggest surprise to you about becoming an entrepreneur outside of normal employment?
I have to write my own closing sheets and give that to the title agent.
I love this, that's his biggest complaint, because me too. I hate sending emails, but continue. I hate it so much.
You're not good at it.
That was a big surprise for me.
The truth. I can't handle the truth.
See, I'm good at the liaison, and that's who I handled her email for the past 2 years. So honestly, if you emailed her over the past 2 years, I might have been the one who responded.
She's like, I have 27,322 unread emails. Should I read those? Nah.
No, this is the thing. I have anything from you flagged. That's why I respond to you within 3 to 5 days.
Except that one the other day that you're like, yeah, I lost it. I can't find it
I
anymore.
really couldn't. I lost the email. I hit archive or something. And that's the thing. Here's the truth. I have realized this about myself as a broker. Like, I am incredibly valuable when it comes down to giving you information about real estate and being analytical about a property. I can crush him. Same thing as you, representing the client. Being prepared is his like secret weapon. And you're amazing, analytical, detail-oriented, all the things. But don't ask me to send emails or do paperwork. Like, big ups to Shauna O'Brien for doing my paperwork. Like, before you came along and started doing it, she had to literally do everything, because I am lazy and not detail oriented when it comes to paperwork. I'm like, should I have said that right after I said, come work with me? But
I'll review your paperwork. No worries.
Thank you. But that's the thing I want to bring up as a new agent too. Figuring out your strengths and weaknesses as an entrepreneur is really important, because if you get in the industry, the statistics say 2 years before you're out when you get your real estate license. So a lot of times you get that big commission, spend all the money. Oh, never mind, going back to work. Or you come in, you don't realize, oh, I've got income, expenses. I've got to get signs. I have to do advertising. I have to find networking. What's my schedule like?
And I have no contacts.
CPAs. Whoa. Wish someone would have told me those 3 letters about 6 years ago. But it's one of those things, having someone do your bookkeeping, knowing how to keep up with your expenses. These are all things you did not learn in your 60-hour pre-licensing real estate course. So tell me a little bit about your curriculum at the school, because I know it's a little bit higher level than what we experience coming into the entry level of real estate as agents. So we're going to move over real quick and talk about that, because this experience for someone who attends the University of Little Rock or would like to attend the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, this is a really important time in our market. We have an incredible real estate market, and if you're going to move to Little Rock, it's a great time to do that. Attend our university, which I believe there's a promotion for like 50% off tuition. You can look on their website. And when you come to do that, you can take these courses. So jump right in and let's talk a little bit about what Elizabeth passed over and the experience of the student.
And so, yeah, like I was talking about earlier, we go through a lot of like zoning laws, landlord-tenant laws, and we really dive deep into like Arkansas. Not only Arkansas is, so one of my assignments, which was really cool, I think, was going over, it was a landlord-tenant law assignment, and they got to compare our states to another one's. And this was before the November change.
Called me while we were
Bad.
I was
And
it's bad.
reading 17 different students' perspectives on those is pretty much amazing, because your students come from a variety of majors, from construction management to nursing, and you would never even think this. And then like, because it's an elective. And so, you know, in those industries, you have certain beliefs, and it's so funny how which way people lean and which state they choose.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, or it's not funny, it's interesting to read these stories or these essays and how they compare and analyze our states to another state. And, you know, some people thought that our landlord-tenant laws before November 1 were completely amazing, and they could have a huge argument about why they were amazing. And you know what I mean? And
Well, they were amazing for someone that wanted to go buy rental property.
And here we go.
they were that, you know, who knows? And so So that's fun. And then it's really like going through the zoning laws. We go through a settlement statement transaction from beginning to end.
There's people in the industry who haven't done that yet.
Yeah. They send it to them and they're like, yep, it's good.
Yeah. Sir, can you read this and tell me you're fine to sign it? I don't know what it means.
Yeah, so that's one of their final assignments is we're doing a settlement statement and they have to, yeah. So I don't
The
know.
thing
Yeah,
is,
it's
you
really
could
in
really-
depth into
Do y'all
it.
talk about the lien law? The agent lien law?
The agent lien law.
I
Here
don't know
we
if you
go.
I
know
don't
about
even
it or
know what
not.
that is.
Squiggly line?
Educate me.
It's just last 3 or 4 years, there was legislation passed that allows a real estate agent or a broker to file a lien against property for an unpaid commission in the event that a transaction does not close and the agent feels like they've earned their commission on the transaction. And it's very dangerous. And that's why I didn't know if you were talking about it or not, because I've seen multiple agents. I know this can be a whole episode we can talk
I
about.
literally just made a note. Call Kendall.
But that's something you should look into because, the law in Arkansas says an agent's entitled to a commission if they present a buyer that's ready, willing, and able. Now, a buyer's agent, we call it a buyer's agent. I know it's a selling agent, but we call it a buyer's agent because calling it a selling agent doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the buyer's agent, the buyer's agent, it's more difficult for them to have presented a ready, willing, and able buyer to a seller, and then it be the buyer's fault that they can't close, and you're going to go collect a commission from the buyer that you normally would have collected out of closing from the seller. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But from the listing agent side, the law says if you present a ready, willing, and able buyer to this person that has a house listed and they fail to close at the sole fault of the seller, then you have a right to your commission, period. I've filed multiple suits in transactions on behalf of real estate agents where the property did not close and collected a commission.
I know I'm smiling and I don't think it's funny. I just think it's...
But here's why the lien law is
happens.
dangerous. The lien law is dangerous because it actually places a lien on the property, and there is a criminal statute in Arkansas that says if you place an unlawful or an improper cloud on title of someone's property, that it can be criminal. And so I've seen real estate agents that want to go around and slap a lien on property every time one of their transactions doesn't close, and they think it was somebody else's fault, and one of them is going to end up in real trouble and lose licenses and everything else. So, I mean, it's something we can talk further about it, and we'll probably now Jamie wants to do an episode on it. But it's something interesting to look at.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it. So we'll talk about it on the next show. But I have
maybe one of those things you don't want to teach. You may
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
want to go,
actually,
this is out there.
I don't even know. I really think the more...
Put it in the fine print.
Yeah.
Extra credit.
Extra
Exactly.
credit. Extra credit. That's actually a great extra credit assignment. I'll take it on myself for the next episode. But I do have one really, really important question for you lastly, because I know we have to wrap this up so you can get back to work. But can you show a house for me at 12:30?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
It's only a street
Important
over.
thank you. Important questions answered. So
Well, I had an important question. I was going to ask him if his broker was any good that he works with.
Oh my gosh.
okay, you can rule on this if you want.
Is she okay?
You can answer honestly. It's fine. I have room for improvement.
She's great.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll rule
I
that
wouldn't
she's
be
great
here.
then.
You can rule this one time that I'm great. Actually, give me that. I'm gonna rule today. I'm taking the squiggly lines and the gavels out of here. Ross,
I've already objected once, so we'll see how this goes.
I know. I hereby rule that if you are in real estate interest, or if you are curious about real estate, if you want to get into real estate and you have any interest in our beautiful state, the natural state, you need to reach out to University of Arkansas at Little Rock, see what's going on, and see if you can enroll in your elective course. Come meet my friend and learn everything about his experience and the experience of being a real estate agent in this beautiful state. Cool?
Yeah. Do
All
it.
right.
It's
Do you
fine.
want to
Good
touch
ruling.
the gavel? Are you excited?
I'm okay.
Okay, cool. All right, guys,
You
we're
can't handle
out.
the power.
You can't. I couldn't handle the truth. Another episode of I Hate Real Estate coming up next week. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and hang out with us the next time we talk about those days where we hate real estate. Good having you on the show. Have fun.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ross.
for having me.
Bye, Kendall.
Bye.